thank you, Chair and members. And just a few things to say this morning. As you say, we've changed the running order, so to let the questions continue. Just as you say, Chair, a few bits to pick out of the monthly report. Firstly, acknowledgements, I think, of the benefit of planning and attention to detail, and to pay tribute to Chief Superintendent Davy Beck, who was the person responsible for running our response to Her Majesty's death, the proclamation, the royal visit and the funeral, and also to signal how much feedback we've had about the 50 plus officers we actually sent to London to support the policing of the funeral. So we had sort of, from all sorts of different walks of life, people extremely impressed by the way they engaged the public, which is a tribute to them and, in a sense, the policing style that they represent. Similarly, in relation to the Violence Against Women and Girls launch, it was a thanks to the support for members that did get to the launch. I think it was a really constructive morning. Clearly the hard work is now before us to deliver on the commitments that you outlined there, Chair, but that's picked up in page 12. Clearly, as ever in these monthly sort of sessions, there's the tempo of our work to tackle paramilitary and organised crime continues. And you'll see some narrative there, which is brought up to date by a large seizure of drugs at the weekend in Belfast Harbour. So our commitment remains unresolved. And clearly, since we last met, probably the keynote operational event for us has been the murder in West Belfast, which obviously remains a fast-paced and live investigation, whereas we've said the other day, there are a number of active lines of inquiry now running. As you would expect, the senior investigating officer is developing a number of different hypotheses in relation to that. I know there's a lot of speculation about what lies behind this, but in terms of reassurance to the public, we have stepped up foot patrols in the immediate vicinity, and I think as this morning we still hold the crime scene. The report again highlights today some of the narrative around operational performance, Chair, as you've alluded to, plus some headlines around our assessment of the likely impacts in terms of scenario planning of the continued crisis and cost of living, but also on a more constructive note, point members to the new website, which is part of our sort of broader ambition to make us more accessible and use technology to push work into different places, and that seems to be going well. What's not in the report, but it's probably worth a quick mention, given some of the narrative and media commentary in England and Wales, is the position in relation to burglary. You'll see a lot of chatter this week and debate about the response to a crime when there's an invasion of someone's safe space, someone's home. We continue and always have responded to burglary dwelling calls, burglary in your home, so that we're not affected by the changes in England and Wales that you see. And we continue to solve roughly 1 in 10 burglary crimes. There's always more to do, but comparatively a reasonable position, although crime itself is down. Clearly the report notes some important commemorative events we've had in the last few weeks, where again some of you were able to join us at the commemorations for 100 years of policing, and it was our turn to host the National Police Memorial Day, and again a lot of constructive feedback from delegates from across the UK about how well officers on the ground, and indeed probationers at the event who were helping sort of manage the people that came, represented themselves and us. I suppose, as you say, Chair, the big issue still remains in front of us, which we highlight at page 5 and 6, the rather bleak financial and economic outlook we face. I'm sure we'll get into questions both now and in the next session about our plans. I think the key thing to reassure you about, in terms of the contingency planning, we want to come to you within the next few weeks with more specifics about the actual impacts. I mean, the assumption is less officers and less staff will mean different levels of service. On the one hand, when we're speaking to yourselves and indeed victims and members of the public beyond here, you have our assurance that we will continue to manage the 999 service, to respond to emergencies and to investigate serious crime. But we'll be able to come back to you with more detail in the next few weeks about what will look differently as the numbers of people we have to do the work shrinks. And I think for now, I sort of will press pause, Chair, and just open it to members' questions.